one day, Sky News will become News 24 from 6 a.m. tomorrow.
Leadership on edge. Jacinda Allen expected to face a potential leadership challenge on Tuesday if she doesn't resign beforehand. The Prime Minister dodges questions about a fundraiser dinner hosted by the son of a billionaire at the centre of a tax office investigation. And a manhunt underway after a suspected Islamist-inspired attack on a pride parade in Germany.
What we see here all indicates that this has been an Islamic or an Islamist terror attack.
In Fox Sports News tonight, Nazaya Wanganeen-Miller shines in an important win over North Melbourne, but there's a disaster for St Kilda with Max King's return to AFL footy ending early with a hamstring concern. And Tim Zhu reigns supreme against former unified world champion Errol Spence Jr. in Sydney, the Aussie declaring he wants to fight for a world title again.
Rainfall returns to the south this week and it brings a chance for some snowfall. Tracking it out coming up.
Live on Sky News Australia, this is NewsNight with Kristie Lloyd.
Good evening. Thanks for your company here this evening on Newsnight. Well, Victorian Premier Jacinda Allen is expected to face a leadership challenge on Tuesday if she doesn't resign tomorrow. It follows a meeting of the state Labor Party's left and right factions. It's understood those at the meeting agreed Miss Allen no longer has the support of a majority of caucus, despite the Attorney-General publicly backing her boss.
"We're hiring" was the opening line on a new social media post from the Premier. But speculation Jacinda Allen will soon vacate the top job was quashed by one of her closest allies.
She has my full support, and this idle gossip doesn't help.
Talk of plans to depose the Premier emerged Friday afternoon. While Jacinda Allen has not yet responded, Attorney-General Sonia Kilkenny was unflinching when repeatedly questioned about her leader's tenure. Jacinda Allen will be going into this election.
Jacinda Allen is fully focused on Victorians and making the lives of Victorians better.
And teacher turmoil continues to cause a headache for the government. A group of rebel educators are putting up candidates in more than half a dozen Labor-held seats, including pitting teacher Brendan Laws against Deputy Leader Ben Carroll in the electorate of Niddrie.
And we are running to win. We're here to win at the ballot box.
The group are members of the Victorian Socialists Party and not happy with the government's latest pay offer. Opposition leader Jess Wilson was also keen to talk power today in the form of a new energy security requirement policy.
This will ensure that the lights stay on and we bring down power prices.
For politicians, the midwinter break is coming to an end with state parliament resuming on Tuesday. And for both parties, the pressure will be on to present a united and stable front to Victorian voters.
Victoria's opposition leader Jess Wilson has announced her plans for government after concluding her 36-day tour around the state. The tour touched all 88 of the Victorian lower house seats and came as calls for Premier Jacinda Allen to step down have been growing amid the ongoing CFMEU corruption scandal.
Real change has a plan. Today, I am so proud to announce our plan to deliver for Victoria, to deliver reduced crime, lower costs, and a government that works for all Victorians. Victorians have had enough. They've had enough of a desperate, corrupt, chaotic Labor government, and they are looking for a fresh start in November this year.
With just 125 days until the next election, Ms Wilson says the tour has made it clear what Victorians need.
Victorians are doing it tough. They have told me that everywhere I have gone. They are struggling with their power bills. Small businesses cannot keep the doors open because their energy costs are going up and up and up under this Labor government. That's why we will take the responsible decision, the disciplined decision, and ensure that we put forward an energy security requirement to keep the lights on, but to also ensure that Victorians can afford their energy bills.
Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says he knew nothing of any issues when attending a recent Sydney fundraising dinner at a harbourside mansion hosted by the son of a man who is the target of the Australian Tax Office. Speaking to the ABC, the Prime Minister said he attends lots of dinners and was defensive about the Point Piper fundraising dinner in question.
Did you attend a dinner at the home of Felix Lee in Point Piper?
Oh, look, I attend lots of functions.
What about this one?
I attend lots of functions in lots of places, including last night right here.
What about this dinner at Point Piper?
I attend lots of functions in
Why
lots
do you want
of
to
places.
answer that?
In an uncomfortable interview, Anthony Albanese says he was not aware of ATO accusations against Philip Dong Fang Lee and also said he was not at the function. Labor National Secretary Paul Erickson has revealed the Albanese government is preparing to go against One Nation at the next federal election. He says One Nation will form part of its political opponent in 2028, arguing the coalition is dependent on Pauline Hanson's party to govern.
As the polls show, the coalition will not be able to govern without One Nation. One Nation would not be able to govern without the coalition. So at the next election, the choice will be between a Labor government that's delivering real change or an alternative of a chaotic and divided coalition One Nation government.
The PM has used the recent Labor Party conference to call on delegates to campaign real change ahead of the next election. Pain at the pump is about to worsen for Australian drivers when the fuel excise returns at the end of this week. The Albanese government slashed the tax when the war in Iran began, and while the conflict continues, the discount will not.
With strife still in the strait, tonight a sign fuel relief is about to run out.
We, of course, deal with a range of cost of living measures. That was one. But as well, people got a tax cut this month. The minimum wage was increased this month.
After the initial oil shock when Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz, the government removed fuel excise, taking 32 cents per litre off petrol and diesel. In July, that was halved to 16 cents off per litre. That reduction set to end this week, and the Prime Minister not planning to extend the discount.
Well, that's not in our planning at this point in time.
The reintroduction coinciding with a jump in the price of oil, but crude remains well below the highs of March.
We'll continue the efforts and the work with our trading partners, with our refiners, to ensure that Australians can have confidence in our fuel supply.
Approaching the halfway point of the Albanese government's second term, and cost of living remains the number one issue for voters. Tonight, one Premier is urging his federal counterparts to use the hip pocket as a way to embrace the immigration debate.
We need more people coming here with the capacity to build homes. We need more people coming here with the capacity to work in the health sector and aged care. And if we turn that tap off, there'll be a price to be paid.
One Nation supports skilled visas but are still pledging to cut 500,000 migrants. The housing industry says it's still 100,000 tradespeople short of meeting housing goals.
Yes, bring the number down, but we've got to make sure the number works for us. That's probably where we do agree. We've got to make sure we have the builders and tradespeople.
Builders needed for houses that also need houses themselves.
Overseas, a manhunt is underway in Berlin for an attacker who drove a van into a crowd at a pride parade. One person has been killed and another 29 wounded. Authorities are searching for 21-year-old Abdul B. Germany's Interior Minister has confirmed the incident is likely an Islamist terror attack.
What we see here all indicates that this has been an Islamic or an Islamist terror attack. Last night, the suspect used a vehicle to drive into the mass of people, into the crowd. He caused serious injury. This led to one death. Then he used a knife or other blunt instrument, attacked other passers-by, causing some serious injury.
Horror at the heart of Germany's capital city after a van rammed into a crowd of people at Berlin's Pride Parade. a celebration which turned to chaos.
Why would you drive into a crowd on purpose? I do believe that someone who hates the community tried to hurt us, hit us in our heart. This is the one day in the city when we can be how we want to be, and to hurt us then, that hurts all of us, and it is hard.
Police are still searching for a suspect they've identified. They've issued a wanted notice for 21-year-old Abdul B, believed to have links to Islamist circles. A manhunt now spanning the entire city.
It is a suspected perpetrator. We have no information on his motive, the sequence of events, or his contribution to the incident. Nevertheless, a suspect has been identified. We have made great strides in the investigation by identifying the subject, because this is a serious violent crime that was committed here.
Visiting the scene, the mayor condemned the attack, but brought defiance too.
All I can say is that Berlin, as a city of freedom and diversity, will continue to grow stronger and assert its position. We will not let anyone take away our way of life and our way of living together.
Hundreds of thousands of people had gathered in Berlin for a weekend of partying. Instead, shock and destruction, and not for the first time. In 2016, a failed asylum seeker hijacked a truck and drove into a crowded Christmas market in Berlin, killing 11 people and leaving dozens injured. And just 2 years ago, 6 people were killed in a similar attack in Magdeburg.
The difference between those incidents and this one that's just happened today is that it's on a much, much larger scale. Christmas markets are confined usually to quite a small area, and this is something that this incident today spreads across really the city.
A city and a community that was celebrating and having fun, now grieving and waiting for answers about who did this and why. Molly Malone, Sky News.
Iran state media is reporting an oil tanker has exploded in the Strait of Hormuz after hitting a sea mine. An IRGC-linked news agency claims the tanker had left a route designated by the Revolutionary Guard. Its Central Command reveals American soldiers boarded a tanker in the Arabian Sea that violated the naval blockade.
The concern is, this is something that analysts CNN have spoken to as well, have said the defensive missile systems like the THAAD, the Patriot, a lot of them were used up defending against all those incoming Iranian missiles in the earlier part of the war a few months ago. So that's a concern. A significant number of Tomahawks also, an attack, land attack weapon, also used up. So if you commit more weapon systems to another round of fighting, then you reduce your options for another war or another conflict in another theatre around the world. That was, as from what we understand, was the concern raised. What it has allowed, this pause, whatever the reason, and diplomats I'm talking to are sort of referring to this as an unannounced ceasefire, if you will, that's now gone through 2 nights. It's given an opportunity for an Omani delegation to go to Tehran. They went Friday, stayed into Saturday, left late Saturday to have conversations. The Iranian foreign minister saying that there was progress in those talks, that they focused on the Strait of Hormuz, but there's absolutely no indication here whatsoever that the Iranians have given ground on their core point on the Strait of Hormuz, which is they want to have control over it and be able to make money out of it in the future. The Iranians also have spoken about how they've caused a number of vessels, 6 vessels, to go to anchor and not transit the Strait of Hormuz. I think when you step back just a tiny little bit and look at the messaging from both the US side and the Iranian side, both operating their blockades, but not signaling it through maximalist shooting of ships, but sort of a one tempo down, if you will, the boarding and inspection and the ships being put at anchor. Can this pause for diplomacy hold? And as discussed here, the cost of an escalation, there are implications with that, and that was what was explained to the president.
Stay with us. Coming up on Newsnight, the Oz Alert system to be tested later today. We'll bring you all the details next. Welcome back. A morning fishing trip has taken a tragic turn in Sydney's eastern suburbs after a boat carrying 2 men capsized. One man was found clinging to floating debris. The other winched from the water but didn't survive.
Clear sky on a stunning winter's day in Sydney's south, but soon the rescue helicopter rushes in. Off Bear Island, choppy and dangerous waves, big enough to capsize a boat, with 2 fishermen on board. Their vessel smashed to pieces, leaving the men desperate and adrift. One, a 74-year-old, managing to cling to debris.
Recreational divers went over to assist him and were taken into a nearby Randwick City Council jet ski.
Also, there's a guy in a jet ski, and he was taking there's an old man that he was taking to the shore.
His shipmate wasn't so lucky. A rescuer winched down to save the man in his 60s from the swell, but sadly, he didn't survive.
Devastating, really, you know. People wake up in the morning, they're going for a fishing day. I've done it thousands of times.
The men weren't the only ones fishing off Bear Island.
I could see their boat off to my left, which wasn't too far away, and it was rocking profusely like something to move, you know what I mean? Like they were there, then gone, but yeah, it was very quick.
Unfolding at 10:30 this morning, La Perouse packed with families and fishermen, now witnesses to a tragedy.
I feel terrible, actually. It's driving me insane.
The damage so bad the boat hasn't been recovered. A floating fuel tank and chairs, evidence of the men's misfortune. Water police are right now recovering debris from the water as they piece together how this accident unfolded. Part of the investigation, neither of the men were wearing life jackets. The survivor treated for hypothermia and taken to hospital, unharmed but facing the loss of his fishing mate.
Australians are about to get a loud call designed to alert them about impending national disasters, emergencies and severe weather. It's part of the government's rollout of a new national emergency warning system, which uses cell broadcast technology. Emergency Management Minister Kristie McBain gave details of what we can expect ahead of today's national test of AusAlert.
Tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Australian Government will be sending an AusAlert notification out nationally. The critical alert will be used in this national test. Compatible mobile devices will vibrate and make a siren-like warning that will last for around 10 seconds. Devices will vibrate or make sound even in the silent or do not disturb settings.
The latest effort, though, is just a test before the system goes live nationally on October 1st.
And also the adoption of the technology is different. I'm very glad that we have it, but also it's just the beginning because this system, the AusAlert currently is using using broadband technology, but maybe in the future it can be, it can use or integrate with the satellite communication system as well.
Auction clearance rates remain low since the Labor budget was announced in May. According to data from realestate.com.au, only one state managed a clearance rate above 50%. That was Victoria, well ahead of New South Wales, which dipped to 40%, and Queensland, even lower still, at 28%. South Australian Premier Peter Malinauskas has declared nuclear power has an important role to play globally while aligning with Australia's net zero goals. But despite the positives universally, the Premier says nuclear power for Australia is uneconomic.
For me, nuclear power has an important role to play globally. It is a form of baseload power that has zero carbon emissions. I mean, it's almost good for the environment in that respect. The question is whether it's economic, Andrew. And all of the evidence has made crystal clear, countless independent assessments have made clear that nuclear power in an Australian context is uneconomic. If you just plonk a nuclear power station in the system tomorrow, you're going to drive prices up.
Mr Malinauskas says the best form of power in Australia is renewables, backed up by natural gas. Prominent Labor figures have denied suppressing dissent inside the party after MP Ed Husick's resolution on the Palestine issue was blocked. Mr Husick claimed the move to shut down the debate at the ALP National Conference went against democratic values. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has not condemned the MP's criticism, but says the party's policy platform has the right approach to the issue.
Party platform has got the balance right, and what we need to do is to make sure that we as a country, this is a conflict a fair way away from us, but that everything that we do is balanced. Ed, like every other delegate, has a right to come along and to pursue whatever they say is or see as their objective.
Speaking to Sky News, ALP National Secretary Paul Erickson says the conference has demonstrated unity instead of a party-burying dissent.
What we're seeing over the course of the entire conference is that sense of unity of purpose coming together on every question, whether it's the economy on day one, workplace relations yesterday, or Australia's place in the world today.
South Australia Premier Peter Malinauskas notes the issue of Israel and Gaza is not a top priority for Australians today.
Debates that happened on the conference floor about motions associated with the Gaza Strip, I don't think is the main focus or concern of Australia, was to be frank about it. That's not to suggest it's not important. It's not the main game. So to the extent that this is a united, disciplined party focused on the main game, has been on show.
Australians are being urged to sign up to give the gift of life. The call for action as the number of organ donors in New South Wales has dramatically dropped over the past 5 years.
Little Zane understands the gift of life better than most.
You can't stop him. He's outside all the time, riding his bike.
He's celebrated 4 birthdays thanks to the kindness of 2 people he'll never meet.
He had a liver transplant when he was 8 months old. He ended up having another transplant, a kidney transplant as well, just before his 2nd birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Zane, his mum and dad, even his surgeon.
Good to see you.
In Narrabeen this morning, with hundreds of others saved by organ donation, trying to buck a worrying trend. In New South Wales, there was a spike in new organ donors in 2021 when more than 110,000 people opted in, but it's been dropping fast since. A little over 34,000 people signed up last year, prompting a fresh reminder to sign up on the Donate Life website.
But the really important thing is also to ensure that you tell your family of your decision.
Each part of Sydney paints a different picture. Registrations are the highest in the Blue Mountains, Mossman and the Northern Beaches, but lowest in Fairfield, Cumberland and Strathfield, where less than a fifth of eligible people have signed up.
It really requires kind of grassroots initiatives to start the conversation about organ and tissue donation.
No campaign more powerful than the faces of those who get a second chance at life.
Western Sydney is about to get a new national park, more than 3 times the size of the Centennial Parklands. As well as protecting bushland and threatened wildlife, the park is promising to provide an affordable recreation space for thousands of residents.
It takes its name from the swirling waters of the Nepean River. Thousands of years ago, it was a gathering place for Aboriginal people. Now, the new Golgoa National Park becomes a gathering place for all of us.
It's now a camping ground. It will become a walking place. It will become somewhere that you can ride your bikes, somewhere you can have a picnic, somewhere you can come for a swim on a very hot summer's day.
Adjoining the existing Bents Basin State Conservation Area and Golgoa Nature Reserve west of Bringelly, an extra 700 hectares of old grazing land and residential properties now become the new national park. Over the next 6 months, new bike trails, bushwalking tracks, camping areas and visitor facilities will be created, along with tree planting and conservation. Total cost $95 million.
Get our kids out, take them for a bushwalk, get them off their phones, connecting to nature and to some of the most beautiful places in the country.
Making it a national park not only protects the beautiful bushland for generations to come, but also 28 threatened and endangered species, including the powerful owl.
The only real way of protecting them is to make them national park, and families need to be able to have these spaces. So I'm encouraging people, instead of going east, come west to the Wallandilly.
There's no doubt the state's national parks and reserves are popular. There are 900 across New South Wales, and they attracted a record 65.6 million visitors last year alone. Open space is more important than ever.
73,000 houses are going to be built across Western Sydney in the coming decade. Places like this are more precious than ever.
Well, thousands of families who struck gold with their dogs gathered on the Gold Coast for the Goldens on the Grass. The retrievers were treated to a foam pit, food and plenty of friends as the community came together for a 5th year.
The Gold Coast is known for its golden hour, but loved for its golden day. Hey, buddy! Hey, buddy! Goldens on the Grass returning to the Broadwater, where the blondies come in droves.
We're expecting over 1,000 dogs, so it just gets bigger and bigger each year.
The veterans are first to flaunt their experience, but it's baby steps for pups like Maverick.
He's a really good boy. He's very loving, but he just is very scared around new people. That's why Dad's got him.
By nature, they're not the most athletic, but a Golden won't miss a chance to retrieve. The beloved dogs are a branch off the family tree.
They just want to be around people all the time. This is why we love them so much, because they are my fur babies. Dogs do look like their owners, right? Or owners look like their dogs.
Their siblings weren't shy in getting involved too.
We're playing in the bubbles, and then Albie's gonna do the water jump there. I love how they do zoomies and how they wrestle each other.
Maximus ticked over another dog year, bringing his crew as well to celebrate his birthday and snap the Christmas card early.
Well, at the Broadwater, you'll find Goldens of all shades and ages. The event is now in its 5th year. It gets bigger every time, but the mission remains the same, to bring this chaotic community together.
You know, they're such happy animals, they're always smiling, and hence the people are always smiling.
Stay with us. Coming up on Newsnight, evacuations in Spain and France as wildfires burn out of control across the region. We'll have the details next. Welcome back. More than 250,000 people have been evacuated in Spain and France as wildfires burn out of control across the region. Authorities in France have ordered the evacuation of parts of the city of Bordeaux as armed forces were called to fight the flames nearing the city.
Well, this is the part of France where the fire, this main fire that continues to spread and has not yet been contained, the Gironde fire as it's being called, started. This was on the night from Wednesday to Thursday. 4 days later, you can see how dangerous it still is. What we've been watching over the course of the last couple of hours that we've been standing here is this very dry ground through which the fire had passed, but is no longer active. You still have these smouldering embers underneath the pine trees, and it's an indication not just of how flammable this kind of vegetation is, the pine trees, but also the ferns that have acted as a kind of kindling given how dry it is, but also the fact that even once we're outside of the perimeter where the fire is actively burning and the flames are very high, it picks up again. It was 4 days ago that the fire spread through here, and still what we've been seeing over the last hour or so we've been here are civilians going around with water on their trucks to try and get these sort of starts of fire themselves, even as the main firefighters, all 1,500 of them, continue to battle the actual fire itself, which has overnight, because the conditions slightly windy, spread much, much further to the south and east. In fact, what we saw overnight were 55,000 more people evacuated from their homes, which brings to the whole Gironde region over the course of the last couple of days 220,000 people evacuated and currently living in the kind of shelters we visited last night in Bordeaux, people sleeping on cots with their families, elderly people who've been evacuated from residential homes, and none of them any idea yet of when they might be able to get home. On the contrary, more and more villages being evacuated, the fire continuing to spread. It has now burned 42,000 hectares, just like this pine forest of the southwest of France, 1 million hectares of it that spread to Spain. And this monoculture, of course, that in these very dry conditions we've seen here in France this summer, these successive heat waves, these record-breaking temperatures, once it gets hot down here and the fires start, they are very, very difficult to stop.
New UK Prime Minister Andy Burnham has ruled out holding an early general election. In an interview with the BBC, it was put to Mr Burnham that only his electorate had voted for him, while the rest of the UK hadn't been given a say. The new PM making it clear he has no intention for Brits to go to the polls before the next election, which is due in 2029.
Do you rule out having a general election before 2029?
There is no early general election. And the thing I would say to you is 20 plus, how many million people you just mentioned, voted for a manifesto. We're in a parliamentary democracy, so that is what people voted for. I will honour that manifesto.
Rule it out?
Well, I'm going to rule it out. Yeah, there's no early general election. I don't think people want it.
Andy Burnham took over as Prime Minister early last week after being elected as the member for Makerfield in a by-election just a month prior. And UK Prime Minister Andy Burnham is set to give a major speech this week, setting out his plans to govern the country. He's expected to focus on adult social care as well as youth unemployment and defence spending.
Andy Burnham's first week in office was filled with a flurry of announcements aimed at helping people with the cost of living. But we're told week 2 will see the new PM focus on some of the country's most difficult, long-lasting problems. Number 1 on the list is adult social care, which Andy Burnham has previously described as broken. He's set to make a big speech on the issue in London this week, having pledged to expend political capital on facing and fixing the problem. On his first day as Prime Minister, he said he wants to have a conversation about how to pay for a care system that operates on the NHS principle, i.e. free at the point of use. Previous efforts at reform have always founded on precisely this question. The Health Foundation estimates that free social care for all would cost £18.5 billion a year. A second key issue we're expecting to hear more about this week is youth unemployment, which has just hit an 11-year high. Burnham has repeatedly talked about the importance of changing the education system to better support young people not currently in employment, education or training. Number 3 is devolution. With Number 10 North now up and running in Manchester, Burnham has the nerve centre of his plan to move power from Whitehall to the regions ready to go. But there are many questions about how exactly he's going to do it. Number 4 is defence spending, the issue which caused such a headache for Sir Keir Starmer when John Healey resigned as Defence Secretary over his failure to set out a timetable to spend 3% of GDP on defence by 2030. As Burnham's Chancellor, Healey's now the man with the purse strings. But will he be able to find more cash where Rachel Reeves failed? That's the million-dollar question hanging over the new Prime Minister. The Tories claim he's already made more than £50 billion of unfunded pledges, though much of this very theoretical total includes uplifting defence spending and the cost of a new national care service, which clearly the PM has. Honeymoon of his first week. He'll soon have to face up to the financial pressures which contributed to Starmer's downfall.
US lawmakers are preparing for the midterm elections, which are now 3 months away. The Iran conflict is expected to play a major role in party campaigns.
The House is gone, but the campaign is on.
We're going to have a lot to talk about during this break. The contrast on the ballot this November between communism and freedom.
School is out for the summer in the House, but Republicans are trying to educate voters how Democratic candidates are leaning to the left.
The reality is that the Communist Caucus, the Commie Caucus, is coming to Congress.
To cling to their narrow majority, Republicans hope to distinguish themselves from Democrats.
They have to answer for why they voted against funding our troops, against funding the government, against common sense policies like voter ID and proof of citizenship.
The House approved a plan barring stock trades by members, but tacked on a voter ID mandate. Democrats contend that converted a once bipartisan issue into a GOP political wedge.
I proudly voted no because we are not going to sabotage mail-in voting in this country, and we're not going to fall for kind of their bait-and-switch tactic here.
Democrats are campaigning on affordability.
Prices are up over 25 cents a gallon, over $4 a gallon in my region.
The conflict in Iran presents Democrats with a political opening.
Will Democrats recalibrate their message on Iran? Will we see ads on Iran going into the midterms?
We don't have to recalibrate our message. We've been opposed to Donald Trump's reckless and costly war of choice in the Middle East from the very beginning.
In the 2006 midterms, Democrats flipped control of Congress by campaigning on ending the war in Iraq. It worked, but when asked how Democrats would end fighting in Iran, Jeffries replied, quote, "We've got to figure that out."
One of the United States' largest trading ports in California is preparing for the impact of the Trump administration's latest round of tariffs. It comes as countries across the world, including Australia, are lobbying to remove the latest sanction.
For the Bay Area and other major U.S. trade ports, the Trump administration's latest round of tariffs brings more waves of uncertainty and is shaking the U.S. economy already burdened with inflation.
The cost of everything that is imported, and we're looking at well over 90% of U.S. imports being covered by this, is going to be more expensive because of the tariffs.
Sean Randolph with the Bay Area Council says those increased costs are likely to be passed on to consumers.
It basically ensures that prices of anything imported will be elevated by 10 to 15% or so, and it introduces more uncertainty for importers.
Everything is more expensive: food, our materials for construction, lumber, everything. You know, big difference than before. I mean, and that, it does affect us.
The Trump administration imposed the tariffs Friday on 60 trading partners, ranging from 10 to 12.5%.
Those who have a prohibition don't really enforce it, so we're not going to tolerate that anymore. We're going to have a level playing field, and we're going to try to get rid of forced labor in the world.
If you really believe some countries importing goods from forced labor, some Asian country, some African country, or whatever, you go after those particular products. To use this as a blanket tariff against all products really is not justifiable. But that could be true for the United States as well, because sometimes people have supply chains that turn out to have forced labor in those supply chains.
Experts say the new tariffs come after the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that Trump's initial tariffs, purportedly for national security, were unjustified. Trump's temporary tariffs expired Friday. Now some countries said the forced labor argument is unfounded and issued warnings to the U.S.
We oppose all kinds of unilateral tariffs. A tariff war or trade war is in no one's interest.
This imposition of higher tariffs on Australia is completely unjustified, and we will continue to lobby the United States Trade Representative to remove all tariffs on Australian goods.
After the break, all the sport, including Tim Zhu reigns supreme against former unified world champion Errol Spence Jr. in Sydney. Welcome back to Newsnight. Time now for your Fox Sports News Update. Tim Zhu has admitted his career could have been over if he didn't beat Errol Spence Jr. in Sydney. The 31-year-old inflicted Spence just his second career loss after the Aussie scored a unanimous decision victory. Zhu has had 3 crucial professional losses overseas recently and admits this bout was career-defining.
I've gone through hell and back to get to this position, and I was sort of like, in this prep, I was like, man, this could be it. People were saying this could be it, you know, this is my last hurrah, this is my last chance. And fighting in front of such a big audience, if I fail again one more time, this could be done. But you know what? I think whenever I put that type of pressure onto myself, I've been able to rise.
Meantime, as the Zhu legacy lives on, the Spence Jr. legacy has come to an end. The American announcing his retirement in the ring post-fight after a stellar career which finishes at 28-2. St Kilda's 31-point win over North Melbourne has been soured by a hamstring injury to Max King. King returned to senior footy for the first time in over 2 years after multiple injuries kept him out of the game. The star forward managed just 2 touches before being ruled out of the contest at three-quarter time with another hamstring issue.
No information other than he's getting the scan tomorrow. I haven't seen Max King. I was coaching. He wasn't in the rooms. He wasn't in the song. And then obviously when we get the results, we'll update it. There's no angst. And then, you know, in hindsight, I don't know, we've got to stand by the decision because we made it. And then I gave you all the... So to your point, when I come out with the amount of running he did and the increases, maybe it went too quick and you didn't hear that bit. So I backed over it again and said 50% more HSO running in the 4-week block, 500% more HSR, high speed, above 24 kilometre, and his biggest sessions were 20% more than what he'd done. So I actually backed over that because I moved pretty quick for you. So
Meanwhile, the Brisbane Lions could be without a young defender Ty Gallup after their 59-point win over Port Adelaide. After tackling Mitch Georgiadis, Gallup was seen shoving his head into the ground behind play. He's looking at a 1 to 2 match ban from the MRO for serious misconduct. St George Illawarra look all but destined to collect their first wooden spoon as a joint venture after falling to the Titans 38-18 at Cogra. Clint Gutherson kicked off his 250th match with a try assist to give the Dragons an early lead. But the Titans responded with 3 straight tries, all set up by Jaden Campbell on the left edge. Campbell capped off a stellar afternoon with a solo second-half try to seal a 20-point victory for the Gold Coast.
Deep, plenty of options. Campbell shows to Kitty, goes himself, just strolls through Jaden Campbell. The deception, the footwork, and he has had an afternoon.
Meanwhile, Manly's finals hopes to remain in the balance after a crushing 48-12 loss to Cronulla. Nico Hines scored 20 points on his own, while he and halves partner Braden Trindle notched up a combined 5 try assists. The Seagulls now sit 4 points outside the top 8 following 4 straight losses and could be without Ben Trbojevic after he copped his second head knock in just 3 weeks.
We actually don't care who stands out between him and Tricky. All we care about is that they're playing together, and then if Tricky's leading out and Tricky's playing like Tricky can, and mates, what about some of the touches from Tricky today? Like that was, they're classy players, but they're actually doing the simple things and the hard things right that the team value more than the moments. And then I thought, Nico broke out club record a couple of weeks ago and then delivered again today, but the most important thing for us is, we don't care who gets the highlights, we just care that they're playing together, and they are.
Tigers half Adam Dewey is reportedly set to walk out on the club. His relationship with coach Benji Marshall labelled unfixable ahead of talks between the two on Monday. Fox League pundits Matty Johns and Mick Ennis gave their thoughts on the situation.
I really don't like where this is going, and...
well, where could it go? What are the options?
Well, if the relationship is unfixable between a player and a coach, you'd say that you get the feeling that it's a player want to get out of his contract. Yeah. That's what it appears, right? And so, if you're a Tigers fan, you'd be really...
Well, he re-signed in March, so what are we up to now? We're not even into August yet, so something's happened because he re-signed for 4 years.
Yeah.
So something's happened in this last 3 months.
Well, it just goes to show it's more than just wanting to wear 13.
Well, the club simply, in my opinion, have to back Benji Marshall. They have to, because Benji Marshall, from all we understand, has made a decision for that weekend on what he thought was best to win the football game. All we know, because none of them have spoken and no one wants to talk about it, and with so many media outlets, and we're paid to give opinions, and we're making an opinion on what we're seeing, is the fact that Adam Dewey has been told, you're not playing halfback this week, Javon Andrews will play, and your role will either be at lock or off the bench. And he doesn't want to do that. That's all we know at the moment. And so if that's the situation, that Adam doesn't want to play in a position that the coach is asking him to, the club's got no option other than to back the coach. But if what Luke's saying, and that's what we keep hearing, but we're not hearing anything. That's the problem. We're not hearing anything out of the West Tigers around what these other... All we're hearing is journalists say, we're going to hear more about this. There's more to this story. But we're not hearing anything. And until we do, we're just going to continue to have the opinion that Adam Dewey didn't want to play a certain position and refused to play. And it cost his side a 50-point drubbing.
Former Dragons and Eels player Zach Lomax has been unveiled as player number 5 for the PNG Chiefs. Lomax was unveiled at the home of the Chiefs in Port Moresby this afternoon as they prepare to enter the NRL in 2028.
Thank you so much, everyone. It's an absolute privilege and I'm super honoured to have committed to you guys. It's such a great opportunity for all of us boys and everyone that's going to be coming over to PNG Chiefs. But we're going to change it. We're going to strong down the role, I'm telling you. And I can't wait to be a part of it. And
the 26-year-old is currently playing rugby with the Western Force after ending his time at Parramatta early after the 2025 season. He will rejoin the NRL with the new franchise in 2028. And don't forget, for more live and breaking sport, tune in to Fox Sports News at 500. Now it's time for a look at the latest forecast. Here's Sky News weather meteorologist Marina Newman.
Drier conditions return Monday to much of the southern half of WA, although temperatures are remaining cool with a high of 18 degrees in Perth. One more day of dry conditions across the south, 17 in Adelaide, 15 in Melbourne, and partly sunny skies across Sydney, 19 degrees there, and remaining cool with a high of 18 across Alice Springs.
And this has been our last bulletin as Sky News. After 3 decades as Sky News Australia, in just a few hours will become News 24. While our name is changing, our brand of news isn't, so join us from 6 a.m. as we launch this new chapter. Coming up after the break, World News Overnight.
Turning now to one of the day's biggest stories. But before we do, Sky News is becoming News 24. Our name is changing, our brand of news isn't.
Journey behind the scenes.
This is the biggest movie that I've ever done.
Of the Odyssey.
I'm so excited to see this world that he's created.
The Odyssey, the making of an epic. Watch on demand.
Nobody does pay-per-view like AEW. This is pro wrestling.
Redeem yourself. A first time ever pay-per-view event. Redeem yourself. All Elite Wrestling presents Redemption.
Who will go down as one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
AEW Redemption. An all-new pay-per-view event.
Australia.
It's here.
Bake off! Bake off! Okay.
It's a sweet batch of new bakers.
There's nothing like the first day back in the bake-off shed.
And they're chock full of ideas.
I'm so excited, I might have just laid an egg.
Baking's not all glamour, you know. I love it.
Little flapper dress there. That was tickling my taste buds. I'll do my little dance.
Yumness. Is that even a word? This could either be genius or madness.
In the most creative season yet,
Nearly singed my eyebrows.
the question is, who will rise
That is so cool.
and who will crumble?
Oh no. Anything can happen. Wow. Hang it in the Louvre.
New season, The Great Australian Bake Off. Tuesday, August 11 on Lifestyle or watch on demand.
Everyone is racing hard to the end, to the end, to the end of the line. Oh, take it to that.
Neck and neck, right move. Go! What is going on? Wow. What a drive. That was awesome. That was crazy stuff.
Austin, please. I don't know what happened. I just walked in on her.
This seemed to be a very personal, violent attack.
One of the most brutal I had ever seen.
We need to find as much evidence as possible.
There's blood on the phone. These pieces of evidence work together.
Everything's right in front of us. We bring justice to a family or to a person. It's why I do this job.
New Crime Scene Investigators. Thursdays 8:30 on Real Crime or watch on demand.
Look who's got it. Will Ashcroft with the ball.
Premiership success begins at breakfast. Introducing Willpower. Energy to help you go back to back.
Leave the ad breaks on the boundary line. Spectacular. With no ad breaks during play on Fox Footy, you'll never miss a moment.
You can't script this. What a moment. Why would you want to watch anything else?
unrivaled live coverage. Sky News will become News 24 from 6 a.m. today.
This is Sky News Today. It's 4 o'clock, the headlines. A manhunt in Berlin as German officials say an attack on a pride event in which a woman was killed and dozens hurt was an act of Islamist terrorism. A warning that a suspect named as Abdul Balat is at large and could be armed and dangerous, with further attacks not being ruled out.
We saw many faces, sad faces, crying faces.
Also ahead, officials in France say they're considering the total evacuation of Bordeaux as wildfires continue to burn towards the city.
Just behind me here on the left, more fire right next to a pylon.
In Spain, the country's king visits an evacuation shelter as the PM says the magnitude of a wildfire disaster is hard to come to terms with. And Iran says an oil tanker has exploded in the Strait of Hormuz, after hitting a mine. Hello, good afternoon. We begin with breaking news, and Germany's Interior Minister has said that an attack on a Pride march last night in Berlin is believed to have been an act of Islamist terrorism. A manhunt is underway in the city after one woman was killed and 29 others injured. German authorities are searching for 21-year-old Abdul Balat, who they say had been radicalized.